Hey, what's up, guys? I'm entering this My Omni competition on waves.com. It's a competition where you show how you use the plugin Scheps Omni Channel, and there's some cool prizes that you can win. So, if you use this plugin, I encourage you to enter the competition. Um, I thought that I would do my video on some of the ways that I use Scheps plugin on Late Love by S. Grant Parker. So, we're going to be looking at this section, which is verse 3, and then what I call the hits section. And we'll be looking at piano and drums, but let's start with piano first. So I've got this piano track, and we'll actually go to a different section to hear it really in action. I've got this piano track that is essentially just emphasizing the bass notes. Um, there's not a whole lot of low end with it. As you can see here, I've kind of scooped a lot of that out. But the idea of it is it just kind of gives a little more clarity to the bass. So here's the section just so you can hear it, and then I'll solo the piano for you. So yeah, so now here's the piano by itself. Yeah, so nothing real special about it, but let me show you what's going on here that's really cool. So this is Scheps Omni Channel, and what I love about it is that it has pretty much everything you need in one plugin, but you don't have to use all of it. You can kind of pick and choose, and every piece of it sounds really great to me. So first, my favorite part of this plugin is the saturation knob, and one of the advantages to this plugin is you can bypass selections or certain parts of this Omni channel without having to bypass the entire plugin. So let me show you what this sounds like with and without the saturation, and it just really gives it a cool pop. So obviously it's louder with the saturation, but there is this crisp nature to it that adds a lot of clarity to it when you add that in there. And there's different options for the type of saturation that you're gonna get. I really love this heavy one. I'm kind of more on the CLA side of mixing, where I just kind of turn knobs to the max and just see what I can get out of it. And so I really love that heavy option. Then, of course, the compression that's happening on there is pretty simple. It's just fast attack, slow release, and it's just crushing it to give it that cool sound. But one of the cool things about this is the compressor has 3 different options here, and you can switch between the type of compression that you're going to have, and it gain stages for you. So it's not going to change the volume drastically when you're changing the type of compressor you're using. So as you switch between these, the volume is going to stay there, but the tone is going to change, and the action of the compressor is going to change as it's emulating those compressor types. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's look at this verse 3 section, and I'll show you what's happening with these drums. So we'll go down here to my drum buses. This mix section got a little messy because I just kept doing a lot of stuff with it, so don't mind the organization skills. But here's my regular drum bus right here. So this has everything in it. So here's what we're gonna hear, and this section is a lot more dramatic than the rest of the song. So let me give you just an idea. Here's the key change. This is just what the drums are normally sounding like. And as you can tell, I've got the Scheps Omni channel on my drum bus here. Just to give you an idea what that looks like, I've got a little bit of saturation, which we'll A and B this real quick. And again, that's just the right amount of pop and clarity to give to it, which I really dig. And it also kind of humanizes the drums, in my opinion. The EQ is really great. I've just touched up a few spots. One of the great features about this EQ is if you hold Control on a Mac while EQing, you can actually solo that band for the EQ, which is a really cool feature and helps you find trouble areas and make sure you're working on the right frequencies. And it also kind of encourages that listening with your ears rather than pulling up like an RTA, EQ, and trying to find it visually, which I highly encourage. So just to show you like what that looks like, it's just a really cool feature. And you can just look for the areas that you're trying to find. Um, and then of course that compressor is just kissing my drums just a little bit, just a little smooch there. So in this section, which is my personal favorite part of the song, we had the idea of kind of giving this a little more oomph to the toms. So I had this mic outside of the tracking room that was just laying on the floor, and it picks up some really cool low frequencies. And using Scheps Omni Channel, crushing it and saturating it a lot gives it this super, super cool tone. So here's all of the drums, and then I'll solo this floor mic by itself after I kind of give you an idea of what it sounds like all together. And the idea is there's kind of this low pulsing sound to it, which gives it a really cool drama. So let me show you what this sounds like by itself. Here it is. And it just sounds honestly horrible, but in the coolest way possible. The compressor is just maxed out on every knob. This opto compressor gives it that kind of pulsing sound. Let me show you a different compressor. So that's a lot more dead to me. This one kind of has a much slower release, which is cool to me. But again, it's really cool that the gain staging doesn't change, and you're ending up with the same volume on both. And then, of course, the saturation all the way up on heavy. Just, this is the only point in which I'm using this mic, so just crushing it. And so now let's hear all of this together. You'll hear the piano come back in on the hit section, and you'll just hear all this in action.
That's what I call it. Took her a while to see. My night, violent in violet, she's gonna fight for me. We've got fuel on the fire. Watch for the smoky bar. If you need burning desire, will find yourself a lake.
So yeah, so thanks for watching if you did, and if you haven't already gotten Scheps Omni Channel, I highly encourage it. It's one of the better Waves plugins out there. One last feature that I'll show you that I didn't use for this particular mix, but is a very helpful feature, is you can actually add other Waves plugins into your chain on the Omni Channel, which is super useful and just kind of saves space on your insert list. As you can tell, I kind of got carried away and forgot to remove plugins that I wasn't using. So that's just a very helpful feature to kind of keep things consolidated. Yeah, thanks for watching. Check out Scheps Omni Channel.